Hey everybody, and welcome back to Get On Board. This time with a two-part Gift Guide 2018 series. So let's talk about some smaller games today that we all would like to get or make as a present for our gamer friends. So in this week's gift guide we're going to talk about smaller games. 13 smaller games, not only for gamers, also for families, that have a more inexpensive price point. That's not to say that these are not gamers games, and in fact they are ranked. I ordered them in case of their heaviness, their weight. So for example, number 1 is more like a gamers game or an expert game, and number 13 is a family game. That being said, I like all of those games. Let's start with number 13. Number 13 is Shadows Amsterdam. Shadows Amsterdam was published in 2018 at around Essen, and it's pretty similar to Codenames. Some of you might know Codenames. There's a grid of words on the table and you get to give clues, and the other persons in your team try to guess which words you mean with the clue you gave. Shadows Amsterdam flips that on its head because there are no more words on the table, there are pictures, and these are anamorphic. Is it called anamorphic? Like people, not people, like animals who behave like people. All over Amsterdam, for example in a bank or in a bank robbery or as a judge. Really great pictures, some of the best game artwork that I've ever seen. And they are puzzled together. There's a huge board with multiple pictures on the table, and you have to get your opponents to pass through the right ways through this grid of pictures on the table. It's really fun, kind of more difficult than you might think just on the basic idea alone, but a great game. Love it. Shadows Amsterdam. Number 12 is Werewords. This year there was a new release, Werewords Deluxe. Last year was the release of Werewords. Werewords is kind of mixed with werewolf with just a basic word game, which sounds like a strange combination. Is a really great game. You can play it anywhere, you don't need a table, you just get a card, what your role is. Some of the player is a mayor, he answers yes or no questions and the other people ask questions. Are you a character? Are you a thing? Could we find you in a grocery store? Things like that. And the mayor only answers with yes or no questions. And one other person knows the word that the mayor is going to explain, and gets the other people to, or he wants the other players to guess the word without being too obvious, because he is the werewolf, and he only wins if the other people guess the word without being discovered. You can put some other roles in there, like some people who don't want the team to succeed. It's a very great game. Like I said, you can play it anywhere. Love it. Number 11 is Muse. Muse is a little similar to Dixit and also a little bit similar to Shadows Amsterdam. It's a team versus team game in which your team, you get a handful of those Dixit cards with strange artwork, with like dream sequences almost, and you get to see those like 8 or 10 cards, and you decide to pick one. Then you have some clue cards. For example, you have to sing the clue, film titles or a foreign word, and you give the clue card and the picture to your opponent's team leader, and he has to give the clue, look at the picture gets shuffled in with several other pictures, and the team leader has to guess which picture he meant with the clue he gave. Sounds a little convoluted, but it's a very easy game, very straightforward, works especially good with larger groups of course, but also surprisingly well with only 3 or 4 persons. I've played that, I love it. I keep saying that I love all the games, but that's the case, otherwise they wouldn't be on my gift guide. It's a really great game. Let's head on to number 10. Number 10 is an older, slightly older game. I tried to include games that you could get right now on the internet in your local game store. I don't know if that's the case with number 10. Number 10 is Destination X. Destination X is a game that's not, I don't know if it's not that popular or not that many people played it. It's from Boardgames, and it's not a game for everyone. I have to be clear about that. It's a game for people who like to improve themselves in the field of geography. I am very bad at geography, but that's the reason why I play this game. In a game of Destination X, there are 6 country cards on the table. For example, there's France, there's Turkey, there's Canada, there's Argentina, and there's Ghana. And as a player, you only see the name of the country and the flag of the country, and a little piece of a globe where there's a pin on where the country is approximately on the globe. And then there's your opponent has a book where all the countries are in, with some facts about the game, like how many people live there, how big is it, what's the GDP, what's the main religion in this land. And you have some clue cards, and you can ask your opponent how many people live there. And then he says like 30 million. And you have to figure out which of the countries that are there fit to this description. Your opponent has chosen one country beforehand, and you have to get the country that he chose. Very easy game. Like I said, it's not for anyone, not for everyone, because it's when you're not at all in the subject of geography, you might not like the game. And it's at the beginning, it can be very hard, very challenging. But if you continue playing, I urge you strongly to do so, because you will get better at geography. You will learn some things. It's a great tool. I think especially for kids. It's for all ages, and I played like almost 50 or 60 times now, and I got better. I know some facts about the world that I didn't know before. So that's great, I think. Let's head on to NumberNine. NumberNine is a very recent game. NumberNine is this one here. Welcome to. Welcome to is kind of a roll and write. Roll and write, normally you would roll dice. So there are no dice in this game. These are cards. So you turn 3 cards over, and each set of cards give you a special thing that you can do on your board, which you can cross off or you can fill in a number. And this is the perfect roll and write for me, because it has a theme that's appealing to me. You have a lot of choices. It's not that you only have to be lucky to win the game, not at all. It's a very challenging game. There are many ways to score in this game. There are many ways to be good in this game. You can push your luck a little bit. So it's not, you can fail, of course, because you pushed your luck too much, but it's a very, very good game. One round is like 20 minutes, and almost every time I want to play another round. You can play it anywhere. It's a very, very, very good game. Look for some reviews. I will have my review up shortly. It's a very, very good game. Love it. Next one is Codenames Duet. Also almost an oldie but a goodie. This one here. This one is the 2-player version of Codenames, where you play almost exclusively with 2 players, and you play co-op. So you're together. You try to figure out all the 25 words that are on the table. And back and forth you give yourself clues, with getting to so much of your own words as possible, and your opponent, so to speak, but it's your team player, gets to do the same. Back and forth you give yourself clues. It's challenging because some of the words are assassins. If your other player gets to guess this word, you have lost immediately. I logged my games online, and I've played this 150 times this year, which is, yeah, I know it's a lot, but one game can take 5 minutes if you're bad, and I think up to 15 minutes. That's the max, I think, maybe 20 minutes. And you flip over the cards, you play another round. It's great. Codenames Duet, really, really like it. One of the best travel games that I have, one of the best cafe games that I have. I play it all the time when I'm sitting in a cafe, just a quick round. Really easy to set up, really easy to play, like it. And it's also good, I think, when you're on Christmas Eve with your family, just play this one. It's cool. Because you cannot only play it with two, you can also play it in teams. Did that too. It's very, very fun. Let's head to NumberSeven. NumberSeven is one of two expansions that I put on the list because I thought some of the gamers will have some games, so maybe they will be very excited to get a new expansion. This is an expansion to the game Isle of Skye, which came out I think 2 years ago. Had one big expansion. Don't know what it's called right now, but it was a very heavy expansion. It put a lot of Wanderers is the name, I think. It put a lot of things into the game. It was a great expansion. Changed the game, made it a little bit heavier, of course, because it was a heavy expansion. This expansion is called Druids. Druids is a very easy expansion. You can play it with the first expansion as well. You can play it solely with the base game. Basically, it gives you just more tiles that you can buy every round, so that your empire gets bigger. You can buy several tiles in one round. You can get certain bonuses throughout the game. You can get certain special abilities. It's really fun. Doesn't drag the game out. It doesn't make it that much longer, even at all longer. And it's on the other spectrum. The first expansion was very heavy. The second expansion is very light. I think people who like the base game will enjoy that very much. NumberSix, sorry, is Fantasy Realms. Fantasy Realms, also a very great travel game. You can play it everywhere. It's almost only like, I think, 53 cards in this box, and a score pad, which you really need for this game. Basically, you just draft cards until every player has, I think, 7 cards in their hand. Game is over like 10, 12, 13 minutes, really not that much longer. And then you score your points that you have in your hand with those 7 cards. But there can be combos. You can get 0 points. You can get up to like almost 400 points. It's a great engine building game with the cards that you have in your hand. Like if you have the king and the queen, they score multiple points. You can get a straight of cards in your hand which scores you a lot of points. Sounds more complex than it is. It's a really easy game, but the combos that you can pull off with these cards is just amazing. Love it. It's like the 7th game that I mentioned, and the 7th time I mentioned I love you. Okay, I love these games. Seems like great game. Fantasy Realms from WizKids. Really great game. And this is, I think, the first real stocking stuffer. This will fit in almost any stocking. Now NumberFive is a whole series of games, the newest one of which is this one here. It's the Catacombs game of Exit. This one's a slightly bigger box than the normal Exit games. Normal, they are half the size, so like this big. They're really small, like I think 12, 13, 14 bucks a game, and you can only play it once. That's the deal that you get with the game, because you cut things, you scratch things, you fold things, you almost all the time you need some pair of scissors or a knife or something. But it's a great 2-3 hour get together with a family. I especially like it with 2 or 3 players. It's a great evening, like you have a great evening playing this game. And basically every time you try to get out of some sort of adventure, get out of a catacombs, of a hut, or find treasure or something like that. There are several kind of difficulties. My favorite one being the one of the heavier ones, like the Orient Express. I love it. It's a great game where you have to find the murder on the Orient Express. But there are also great entry-level ones. The Sunken Treasure, I think, is one of the easier ones. It's a great coming into the genre game. And Inka and Marcus Brandt, who designed this games with, I think, Ralph Querfurt, I think is his name. They did great on making every Exit game very different, very unique. So if you played 1 or 2, all the other ones are very different, and you're always amazed what they can do with such a little box. Not the most thematic game of finding a treasure, but it always blows my mind how much cleverness, how much of the puzzles are new and exciting to me when I open one of those boxes and play one of those games. Played almost all of them. This is my final one. Very looking forward to it. This is Exit the Game series. Number 4 is Heartbreak. Heartbreak is by Tim Fowers, who also did previously another of those deck building word games. And I think this is a little heavier game, but I think this is really for people who enjoy word games, maybe like Scrabble, but one step above that. In this game you have a card of hands and you have to build a word with that, but it's easier than the predecessor, who the name of the game just slipped my mind, of course. Anyway, you have to build a word with the cards in your hand. Every card has one letter on it, but you can flip any card and turn it into a wild card. And what's great about the game is it is a competitive game, but your opponent can help you build a game if you don't know any word that is consists of the letters in your hand. And you both get a benefit from that. It's not that long. You play until your deck gets better, so the words get longer and maybe a bit trickier. You can get bonuses, you can get certain kinds of special abilities throughout the game, and you play until someone has a certain point threshold. I think it's 60 points, which is not that long of a game. Also brilliant production, very beautiful cards. Heartbreak, number 4. Number 3 is also almost an oldie, although it's just, I think, 3 years old. It's Seven Wonders Duel. A lot of people know that. Please go into that. If you buy the game for someone you think is a gamer, they might already have the game, and it sold very well. It's very popular because it's just a great game. It's the 2-player variant of Seven Wonders, another great game, but a big box game. This one's a rather small box. It's for 2 players only, and you have cards on the table. You draft them back and forth. They are in a pyramid, so when you take a card that's face up from the table, maybe you will reveal a face down card, which your opponent can immediately snag right under you. There's a little bit of take that, so you have to steal a little stuff from your opponent, which not all players might enjoy, but it's not that bad. And there are ways to mitigate that as well. It's a great game. I think lots of you have heard about it. Seven Wonders Duel. Number 2, also Seven Wonders. The newest expansion, Seven Wonders Armada. It came out at Essen. I think it's available right now through your local game stores and the online distributors. I hope so, at least. This is a great expansion, one of the bigger expansions. You get a new board at the side of your what is it called? Your empire, your World Wonder board, and you have 4 colors of ships that you can advance through certain cards during the game, and they give you certain benefits. And what's especially great, normally when you play Seven Wonders, you only deal with the person immediately to your left and immediately to your right. Now you get to have a little bit of action with all players on the table, even if you play with 6 or 7 players, which is great. And also there are more cards, more special abilities, more variability, more replayability, because there are more cards and not always the same cards in every game. Like it very much, one of the best expansions in my mind for Seven Wonders. Number 1, and this is maybe kind of a cheat because it's the biggest of those games, is Race for the Galaxy, a game which I think came out almost 10 years ago now. I think it might be almost be 10 years, but it has gotten a reprint, a second edition this year or at the end of last year. And this is a great engine building card game. It's almost only cards and a few tokens, a few victory point tokens. It's a very difficult game to learn. You have to wrap your head around it. I think you need a couple of games to really get into the groove of the game. Play cards the cards give you certain benefits. Almost every card in the game is different, and I think the base game consists of like over 100 cards. Must be over 100 cards. You can conquer planets. You can get certain abilities that let you conquer planets more easily. And there are also developments which give you certain bonuses, certain focuses, what you should do, like trade a little bit more, trade for victory points, sell a few of your cards. It's also a race to the first player to get 12 cards ends the game, and then you count your victory points. It also has this very fascinating system of you play 2 phase cards in a 2-player game, and only those phases occur during a round. So, and you get a bonus if you chose this phase, and you always play this cat and mouse game. Does your opponent play this phase? Then I can play this phase and benefit of what my opponent played. It's a fascinating game, although you have to wrap your head around it. There's also a lighter version of this game from the same designer that's called Jump Drive. If you want to get a taste of the game, it's like half the size and like a quarter of the complexity that Race for the Galaxy has. If you've played that and you need to advance or get a few steps up in the complexity, try Race for the Galaxy. A really fantastic game, one of my favorite of all time. That was number 1. Those are the 13 games, smallish, in case of Race for the Galaxy, games that I love, and I would suggest for gamers and family gamers and maybe a gaming group on the holidays. I hope you have great holidays. I hope if you have more suggestions, please comment them down below, and I hope you have great holidays. See you next time with the next video with bigger box gift guides and games that you would like, maybe you or your fellow gamers would like to get as a present. See you next time. Thank you very much.